Hello, I'm Jordy Wolf. You're watching Expoz August 23, 2016 at 2:35 a.m. I'm going to try to show you where, in my opinion, that there's a big possibility that Ishmael, Abraham's first son with Hagar, he would father many Arab nations, many peoples, and his mother was the mother of the Arabs, meaning Ishmael himself was an Arab. And but the 5 books, the Torah given to Moses, when the time came when Ishmael was born and Isaac was born, the 5 books were there for Moses, and the Muslims did not take any part of the 5 books, which was the Torah, probably primarily because they couldn't understand it and didn't know what was in it. But in that came a good bit. I got all the dates. I guess I need to go by the dates here. I'm sorry, I'm getting really. Muslims ignored the Torah. They wrote their own, but they wrote it off hearsay in approximately the year 1604 BC. The flood was 2304 BC. This is approximate 4,353 years ago, and 1,000 more for the millennium. And then you put in the time in there that was on earth prior to the flood, brings us within 30 years of the beginning of the 7,000th year on earth. But here is where the big difference comes in between Ishmael and Isaac. God said that Ishmael would be the father of many nations. He told Isaac that he'd be the father of a nation, as far as the eye could see in 4 different directions in a particular place, but that wasn't given quite at that time. But with that said, the flood has been over with. I got that here too. and I'm saying that because of the time that was moved. The giants were here before the flood, and they were here after the flood. So the Bible says before and after. The flood was about year 1587. I mean, yeah, and or 2014 years later comes Christ, and then to now you count the time, and but then you go back, and anyway, it gives you the 6,970 years. Then you go back to Isaac and Ishmael. These are approximate; they're not in there. There's a 500-year gap of the date. So Isaac and Ishmael both born around the 1750 BC. Keep in mind, with Isaac, his kin were only a very few villages, while Ishmael had 100 cities or 200 cities to 1 over the Jews. The Arabs had many cities to the Jews one. And it's more than likely that they had in them most of them, I'm talking about a very large number of them, the DNA of the Nephilim. And the reason I'm saying this is because of the first names of some of these cities: Amalekites, and Jebusites, and these things. And you remember the walls of Jericho. Well, they were all Nephilim DNA inside the walls of Jericho. Then you had four cities destroyed, Sodom and Gomorrah and two others. They were full of Nephilim DNA. And throughout the Bible, there were certain cities that had to be destroyed. And God said, you have to kill everything in them, children, even the animals, because they had DNA, mixed DNA in with them. So during this time, it was probably about 98% Arab to 1 or 2% Jewish. So it stands to reason that they had more DNA from the enemy, from the fallen angels, than the Jews did. I think I tried to fit that in okay. So when the Arabs adapted and wrote, finally listened over and over, and then wrote their own, they added two things to what the Bible said to the Jews about do not eat, because the pigs have cloven feet and they do not chew their cud. So they're unclean animals. Also, the Jews were told certain seafood couldn't be ate unless it was prepared in a very particular way. Now, the Muslims took the do not eat the pork a step further and said you can't even touch it. You can't touch any part of the body, nor can you touch the blood of any dead animal, and you cannot touch any dead animal. So they added these things to that. And that's not the way the Jews did. And so with that, and then you move forward in time, and it's embedded because supposedly in time it wasn't in the Quran at all. Still isn't in the Quran. We'll take it back. The Quran did finally adapt it, but it came way later, and it came, I don't have a year, but the Quran, Al-Quran 5, verse 3, and it was at that time, unclean, also cannot eat, cannot touch any dead meat or any blood. Well, they sure touch a lot of blood today, don't they? With all the people they kill. Too bad that it didn't have in there, they shouldn't touch and kill humans. But with that said, I believe they were very aware and had the knowledge in the day that Jesus walked and the day he cast the demons out of the pigs. Because the demons, although those demons were in the pigs that ran off the cliff and died, the disembodied spirits of the Nephilim, or the offspring, the Rephaim, went on to take on and inhabit more bodies, and not necessarily animals, just anything that they could get into. And when they could get into a body and make that body move like a doll, then that's what they want. Well, that's why today I think they're head over heels about making the importance so much greater is because they know exactly what the Bible says about the Jews eating pork in the Leviticus 11, chapter 7 and 8. And so they were aware of that. But they, again, went one step further. But they made it themselves so much worse. And so to them, they have to shiver at the sight of it. They can't get near it. They can't touch it in any way. And that's why I believe that they hate it so much, is because they have had it in their relatives that's passed down the line. They may not even know that. But that person that the demons were cast off, he was not Jewish. He was an Arab full of demons. So I'll try to remake this. I did it all on these and not a fresh notebook. I don't have but 13 brand new full notebooks right here. And but anyway, I wanted to get that across, and I think that is specifically the reason they don't like pork that much, is because the same law that told the Jews they couldn't eat certain fish, the Arabs do, the Muslims do. They don't care, they eat it. So why should they disobey only one of the food laws, or obey only one of the food laws and disobey all others? I think is because they want to act like their God is equal to the God of the Jews, which is not true. Anyway, I know I messed this up. I made a forest out of it, but I'll redo it and refine it a whole lot and come back. But I'm about to fall over. Jody Wolf Expoz.